Hello, welcome to Wrestling in Mom's Basement. This is going to be our review for AEW All In Year of Our Lord 2023. I'm Patrick Young. This show to my right is my co-host, Joe Nudo.
Zero Hour kicked off with Hangman Page win the over the budget charity battle royal.
Meh. It was battle royal stuff. Pretty much everyone playing the floor is lava until one guy remains. There wasn't really much story to this, or collection of story to this, because, well, I think only like 3 people have actually been on TV in this entire match. People were in the ring and eliminated, and Hangman really shouldn't have been a part of this.
This is to get everyone on the show deal on the charity thing, which is a pretty good way to go. That being said, it's not battle royal. I don't know how AEW could possibly run them into the ground any further. This is their second one in like 3 days, and that's a bit much for anyone. At least it didn't go long. And Hangman wouldn't see the pop the crowds. I guess it was a terrible idea, but still.
C-.
Let's see. Up next on Zero Hour, Hikaru Shida, Will Nightingale, and Sky Blue defeat Athena, Mercedes Martinez, and Diamante.
Fair match. It didn't necessarily blow any of the doors off or make me excited about seeing Athena or Mercedes Martinez. Honestly, there's really nothing new to talk about with this one. Also, meh.
The sooner they could get Athena into the AEW Women's Division is probably for the better. Because I'm pretty sure she's dominated Ring of Honor for so long, and is probably completely have everyone else around there. So let her come on a bigger stage and show what she can do with the dark talent. On that, there's like a way to get a bunch of people on the show, and they'll have Blue in the Chicago gear. Made perfect sense.
I gave it a C- as well.
Let's see. And the main event is 0 Hour Trios titles. Clay and Billy Gunn defeat Jeff Jarrett, Santos Singh, and Jay Lethal.
Same with me now. Another meh. Antics ensued. The crowd popped for the Acclaimed. It happened. It left. Like I said, meh. Pretty boring 0 Hour in my book.
Dennis Rodman seemed a bit, we'll go with off here. But
yeah, let's put it that way.
I only did one thing. This is probably a match that could have been on Collision or Rampage. Instead, but here is making this show longer. Said, I do like getting the Acclaim and Gunn out there for a fun on telematch show, and it did last long. So I guess it could have been a lot worse.
C-.
Let's see. The main show, bringing on our tag team titles. MJF and Adam Cole defeat the Dark Order.
The match was good, and the crowd woke up for Cole and Max. Match result was never really in doubt, and it continues the dynamic between Cole and MJF.
Honestly, what else were they supposed to do here? There was no reason to believe the Dark Order was going to win, or how much they chased out some kind of interference. So the MJF handicap was all they had. It absolutely did not need to be on pay-per-view, but it has entertaining moments.
I gave it a C.
C+. Bring on our TV title, Samoa Joe defeats Shane Taylor.
Again, the first of your 2 big meaty matches. So this one was just a big bruising match. But also that in the worst way, where it was more on a slower style and more meandering around the ring. I kind of want more out of the Samoa Joe match. It's not a great start to the show, and really felt too short to be anything.
That happened. Rather glad they spent time selling Taylor as the challenger on ROH, and then had this match get pay-per-view time. Taylor never felt like a threat, and then Joe just choked him out. Joe has held the title for like almost a year and a half, I believe, at this point. And I guess time to find a serious challenger or just take the title if they're all right.
C-.
So, we recap then up next TNT title, Luchasaurus defeat Darby Allin to retain the TNT title.
Most of the previous matches on the card so far have been meh. I'll add something else here. It was disappointing. As I wanted this to be good, but never really quite got to that. Source dominated most of the match with spurts from Darby. Not sure why Christian had to threaten Nick Wayne, because Darby almost just glared at Christian and then completely was going to continue with what he was doing until Luchasaurus took him down. Yeah, this one just sort of fell apart, as I was expecting more quick pace, since Luchasaurus can wrestle that style and Darby sort of lives in that. It could have been something more, but it just kind of went like a fart in church.
There is stuff about Alan throwing himself into a monster like a brick wall. I'm glad to see Luchasaurus retain the title as it means more in Christian Cage's delusions of grandeur. Something like that. Not like Alan's hurt by getting mauled by a monster, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a fun way to exactly get there.
D.
D plus. Next up, Miro defeat Powerhouse Hobbs.
This started with a slower pace here for a Hobbs fight. But then sort of out of nowhere, the Chicago crowd got into it. And then Miro and Hobbs themselves also got into it. Yeah, the match benefited from the meat chants, as weird as that is to say. But two big meaty men slapping meat and ended up turning around and making this at least dramatic filled. And at least coming out of this, Miro looks to be doing something, including Lana, who comes in at the end to save him from Hobbs. It was better than it sounded, than I made it sound. But yeah, I thought this turned it around from a more slower start.
Yeah, that worked. This is the definition of what you see is what you get. And match has two monsters beat the fire out of each other for 15 minutes till 1-1. There's somebody who said it's kind of Hobbs fight, and it was a lot of fun. But now I just myself and for both of them to do already.
Yes. I gave it a C.
C plus. That post-match, Hobbs turned down the handshake and jumped me around here, CJ Perry, formerly Lana, to cheer Hobbs in the back on distraction on Miro.
The hot and flexible CJ Perry.
Yeah. The distraction that Miro made to say, but he walks away from CJ, who he said wasn't real. And looks confused.
That woman's not real.
TBS title, Chris Statlander defeated Ruby, so who retains TBS title next?
Honestly, pretty good back and forth here. Probably the most solid match of the night so far. The ending was kind of obvious, but it was fun along the way. And the show is at least on a decent trend with the following two. Was on a decent trend following the two match, and I hope it kept it up.
It's amazing what happens when a woman's doing more time and don't have a commercial or Britt Baker right in the middle. Throwing a lack of spray paint in an Outcast match, and Tony Storm exposing herself, because she went the wrong way, out of the ring,
yep.
but thank God she did, and then her distressed face as she stole the spray paint, and it was that much better. Statlander getting over was a good thing to see, and now the Outcast easily imploded made things that much better, thank God, for all two of them involved. That was some very easier too. But for Ruby and Tony, that's a great thing that the Outcasts are included. So heck of a match here for the ladies.
C plus.
C plus. Up next is strap match. Bryan Danielson defeated Ricky Starks.
Yeah, pretty brutal strap match here. The shots were pretty cringe-inducing, especially Bryan's shot to Ricky Starks' face. And honestly, Bryan sort of brought the fight out of Ricky, which Ricky in his AEW career hasn't really had. Where he had to withstand a brutal beatdown and still look competitive, which he did. Yeah, Bryan, I didn't think was going to lose this one, as he had just come back. I probably would have liked to see Ricky win, but I sort of get Bryan winning here. And yeah, finally we had something really good on this show.
There are times when the match used to be straight up violent, and this is what we got here. It was bloody and carnage, but Danielson looked like a monster in the end. Starks needs a win, but it's okay to have him lose a crazy brutal match with this one. In addition, Steamboat, who has barely been in wrestling in years, was better than most commentators, and he looked decent with those chops and Big Bill. Heck of a match here.
B+.
B+, yeah. Up next, Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta defeated Eddie Kingston and Kazuchika Shibata.
Yeah, I really did like this one. It was a pretty good tag team match. I may not have that much to say about it, but pretty good tag team match, and I actually really did like the interactions with Claudio and Eddie. As Claudio would sort of walk away from a fight with Eddie because he doesn't respect him, or wants to get him extra angry. I still probably would have gone with a little bit more of a finish than just a European uppercut to get Eddie down. I don't know, like maybe a low blow into like his neutralizer or his Ricola bomb, something. But otherwise, rather entertaining match.
Yeah, that ending this was our say at least. I'm not sure where they're going now because Castagnoli beat Kingston at least twice this year. And that does really well for Kingston's title prospects. They're just still chasing with the title at Final Battle, I think it is.
Yeah.
But my goodness, that usually bring us up to care about a title match at all 3 months from now.
I gave it a C+.
C+. Next, Konosuke Takeshita defeat Kenny Omega.
As a match, I thought it was pretty great. However, there is a slight part of me. This felt too much more like a pro wrestling match instead of the fight that I think the story more or less calls for. Because, Callis has been Kenny's confidant for years, and he turned on him and brought Takeshita on his side, who's also known Omega for a long time, and then repeatedly stabbed him in the head with a screwdriver, him and his friends with a screwdriver. So I thought maybe this one should be a little bit more brutal instead of pretty, and this ended up being a little bit more prettier than brutal. But as it was rather good. And I got into the drama of it. I just think it was just a slightly wrong step for the storyline.
Yeah, this is a heck of a match. Omega puts Takeshita over in the big match as he should. Takeshita has been a guy who could be softened if he got a big win for a long time. That has now been solved. There's bound to be a rematch. I know Omega can get his win back there, so he's closer to revenge on Callis. This helped make Takeshita out, and that's what he has been doing for a long time now. So
I gave it a B+.
B+. On next, Bullet Club Gold defeat FTR and the Young Bucks.
Honestly, I thought this match, the one thing this match did really well, it was a very good match. But the one thing I thought it did really well was the integration of the tag stuff between FTR and the Young Bucks. And you got a lot of fun visions of Dax and Nick hitting the Shatter Machine, and Cash and Matt hitting the BTE trigger. And just sort of fun moments like that here. I also, one thing I actually do want to point out here, I actually did like the psychology of when the Young Bucks, or when the Bucks and the FTR team would have Bullet Club Gold members down and hit them with a double team, where if it was like Nick and Cash, the Young Bucks would go to the rope celebrating and not actually try to play defense for someone trying to break up the pin. It happened like 3 or 4 times, but it kind of showed that they're not in their normal element, and the more solidified unit ended up getting the win because of that. I actually thought that was really smart and sound storytelling. Yeah, so overall, it was a rather great match, and it was my match of the night.
Yeah, this was a wild match, and they had a bunch of stuff throughout. I'm not big on the idea of FTR and the Bucks being some new wonder team, but there's a good chance that that's just one-off. And this leads to the club getting all tag team titles shot on the big stage. Jay White and Juice Robinson specifically. It's all for the Bear Dog as they have some incredible chemistry. FTR every time they're out there together.
I give it an A-.
A-. Main event for the international title, Jon Moxley defeat Orange Cassidy to win the international title.
This was to get Cassidy over as someone who can stand toe-to-toe with Mox in a brutal fight with someone like Jon Moxley. And in that case, it succeeded very well. You get to see Cassidy doing stuff outside what you usually think of him as. And that's usually the sloth-like wrestler that we all know and love. But when it comes to shove, he can shove. And this ended up being more brutal and making Cassidy look a bit tough. And also put a nice end and bow on Cassidy's international title reign, which I'm sure Moxley will hold for a while.
Yeah, it was a wild match, and it felt like Cassidy's biggest ever. I just see the result has some people arguing. Cassidy's, because Cassidy's reign was mainly just lower level stars, and he loses his first match against the main eventer. So that doesn't so much make me think he's been elevated to the next level. Especially his first status he was in for a long time. Good match, it was time for someone new though. I'm not sure how much Moxley needed this, but
I gave it a B.
B. Cassidy got standing ovation to end the show. Overall,
overall, I'm going to give this entire show a B here, which puts it tied with Payback, if you guys were wondering about that. The beginning chunk of this, like the 0 hour and maybe the first hour, maybe not even that much, maybe the first 45 minutes or so, I thought it was rather boring. But it's that latter half that I thought this show actually really excelled. And it came on strong. Most of the big stuff worked, and that's what you can really ask for at the end. You probably should put some distance between this and All In, since Tony wants to continue this next year. As I don't think you necessarily need 2 pay-per-views at full price, back to back. Because the overall quality show, this one was better than All In. But it also got hurt by All In and among other stuff that happened this week.
not much.
Yeah, not much at all. Tony Khan almost died, but it's okay. But yeah, overall, I actually enjoyed this show. But if they do something to turn on the first half, this one probably could have been even better and showed the weekend.
Yeah, I think it means, well, yes, this was an all-short show for the weekend. Both shows overachieve, I think, in terms of hype going into both of them. No, I'm not sure how much if will change, and they're sort of going forward for AEW. They said this show was about having strong matches, and there were enough here to carry things. The only weak stuff was either on 0 hour or the first half of the show. And maybe, I guess, depending on how you feel about the Kingston quality of tag. It could have gone, I would say, it could have gone with being about 30 to 40 minutes shorter, though, the show itself. But you won't be disappointed watching the whole thing. The big matches weren't in delivered. That would have stuff to make this work. I got screwed because we think it's important. For some reason, it's important to catch Garrett Clean over Kenny Omega. So we'll see how that pays off for them, Cotton. But
I can tell you, I was not feeling good when Kingston took the loss.
But yeah, I'm sure I felt good because Kenny Omega's just wrong to Kenny. He didn't do nothing wrong. He was just trying to save a gold glacier.
No, Kenny was just putting over his friend.
No, this is all.
We got their win in Chicago. They got the. Got to do his victory lap, and Hangman got to do the charity battle royal.
Well, I need not to do a victory lap in Collision. On Collision, where I need Kenny to win Like, slightly Chicago, so that good. So my punishment review for Friday is...
It was TNA Turning Point 2010. Did you forget it, or?
Yes.
Ah.
Of course I did. So I'll be called to you on Friday. Yeah.
Supposedly, going by Cage Match, is the 4th worst TNA pay-per-view of all time.
I want also come to you on Friday, one of the worst Survivor Series pay-per-views of all time. Survivor Series 2013 retro review.
Yep.
So, see you then.
See you then.